Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, gorgeous. Don't forget to smile. As you look radiant as you are the queen of your Nile. Wake up, beautiful. It's time to spread your wings. Open up your window and hear the songbirds as they sing.
Welcome to Good Morning Gorgeous, your Saturday morning dose of inspiration. I am Sharonda Steele, and
I'm yours truly, Larissa Williams.
Today we have a special guest with us, Ashaya Robinson. Ashaya, thank you for joining Good Morning Gorgeous this morning.
Thank you for having me.
As Larissa always say, good morning, gorgeous. I took that from you. I took that from her today because usually she'll say that whenever we're talking to folks. But I am so glad that you were able to come and join us on the Good Morning Gorgeous podcast. Whenever I reached out to Ashaya to come and join us and be a guest, I said, is there any specific area that you would like to talk about? And, I gave her a few suggestions or options of things that we've talked about before. And she said, well, honestly, I can really talk about all of those. And I'm like, that does not help me. That does not help me figure this out. But we have a mutual friend in common, Christina Gamble, who actually was a guest on the Good Morning Gorgeous podcast. She was sharing her story with being a survivor of domestic violence. So if you haven't checked that out, go check out that conversation with her and share it with any other woman that you know that, or any person that you know that could benefit from that. But I reached out to her and I said, Ashaya is coming on a podcast. We're not exactly sure what we should narrow this conversation. You have any suggestions? And yeah, so you didn't know that. I was researching. No, just playing. And she said, what about faith over fear? And she said, with being, you're a younger professional, but you don't mind stepping out, moving away from home, purchasing a house. Purchasing, your own home, and then everything else that you have going on. So she was like, and I thought about that. And, we have folks that are probably twice your age that is not doing nearly close to what you're doing because of that very thing, because of fear, the fear of the unknown, not knowing what will happen, or worried if it may or may not work out. So I thought faith over fear is perfect for our conversation today. And, so before we get into all of that, why don't we just kick off and you just tell all of our viewers and those that are listening a little bit about yourself.
Yes, that's funny that you had a conversation with Christina, because I did not know that.
I had a conversation with Christina.
That is so good. Which anytime I'm invited to speak, honestly, I really don't write anything down. I just kind of let the Holy Spirit just have his way. So I'm glad you said that, because I had to write things down, because what you just said will be part of the story, because faith of the unknown has definitely been my life. And I would kind of share a little bit about that. Literally that phrase in itself stuck with me since my undergraduate years at WKU.
Wow.
So but yeah, I'll go ahead and get started and just introduce myself real quick, and then I kind of will touch on that. But my name is Ashaya Robinson. I am now living in Louisville, Kentucky. Just been here for a year, but born and raised in Campbellswood, Kentucky. It's a very small town, right smack in the dead of the middle of Kentucky. So mostly we're known for Campbell University. And so was raised there, went to Campbellsville Independent Schools, graduated from there. And I will say, for majority of my life, when people ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? I was always that kid that switched answers every day because I just didn't know, right? So I've never really had that one solid driven career that yep, this is me. But I will say more so in high school, I was social work. I know that was a helping field, didn't know much about it, but I was kind of like drawn to it at the time. And so I was like, I think I might go in social work. And then long story short, I was talked out of it because I heard that it didn't make any money. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to make some money. So I knew I was good at math, love math to the fullest, and I didn't really know what I could do with math as well. And so I said, oh, accounting. People were talking to me about accounting. So I went to WKU, go Tops, go Tops. And so that's how I do know Christina Campbell. She's also my soror. But yes, I went to WKU, went there, started out as accounting major, didn't know I was getting myself into. Just not for me. Business in general, like when you're a business major, you have to take everything from finance to economics to marketing. And I just like the whole entire thing was not screaming out to me. Besides computer, I think it was a computer science or something like that. I love that. But outside of that, I just wasn't enjoying the field. And then life started happening in general with my dad and stuff like that made me kind of not tune in with my studies in accounting because it's very demanding. So long story short, I switched over. I went to our career services and I was like, listen, I need to switch majors, don't know what to do. I need help. Long story short, everything was popping up like of my interest that was in social work. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'll go back to social work. That was my original intent in high school. So let me just go back. Long story short, graduated with my bachelor's and my master's in social work from WKU. I stayed about a year, almost 2 years, in Bowling Green, working as a case manager. But I was so involved at WKU that I really enjoyed higher education. I was working on campus with disability services. I was just surrounded by just wonderful, supportive people. And like that became my passion. Like, okay, I know for a fact that I do want to work with students. Yeah. And then that's when I learned more about TRIO. I didn't know about TRIO Upward Bound. And shout out to TRIO. I didn't know about TRIO, but I did not know everything about TRIO. I learned about TRIO Student Support Services when I was there. Learned about it. I wasn't a participant, but I just learned about it. But I just knew that I wanted to help students like me that were in poverty, that were just didn't know the ropes. Like I was fortunate to have my mother to graduate, but I still operate as a first-gen college student because she was a non-traditional student. That was back then whenever you can take your kids to classes with you. So I was right there in classes at Campbellsville College at the time, honestly, with my mother while she was taking classes. So like I always said that was like always a seed that was planted, right, in my life. And that was a seed that was planted. But what she didn't receive was the tools as a non-traditional student. Okay, now that you have a degree, how do I use it? How do I build a resume? How do I go out here and land a job, interviews? Like, those tools are important. So unfortunately, my mom did not get those tools, even though she has a degree. She still managed to live in a system where, the odds was kind of against her when it came to money, or even learning how to find deal with money whenever you didn't come from that, right? Mm-hmm. So stewarding money is definitely important. Yeah. So since she didn't receive those tools, I still kind of I always felt like I was still a first-gen student. And so by definition, they say if your parents received a bachelor's degree before you turn 18, then you're not first-gen. So that was my case. And so all that to say was I still had a passion to help students who look like me that was in the same predicament as me. And because of the support that I received so heavy at WKU, I wanted to pour that back into the lives of students. So I knew about TRIO and I was like, yep, once I get this master's degree, I'm out of being case management. It was for the birds. I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to try to go back into higher education. And I was very strategic of doing that because I knew that if I go into social work, if I ever wanted to continue anything with the realm of social work or higher education, like social work allows you to do so much. So I was strategic in doing that. And so I did get my master's, landed a job at Berea College. A couple of months later, I was really, after I got that diploma, I was applying to everything. And I mean, it was like, I never felt so much rejection in my life from applying. I was like, oh my goodness, like,
I
you know,
know
I
the
got a
feeling.
master's now. I got a year or two experience under my belt. Like, what is really happening?
Yep.
And when I stopped looking, that's when the Lord literally placed TRIO, Student Support Services,
Mm.
across my lap. It was crazy the way that it was connected. And so all that happened. Berea College, never knew about Berea. I heard a little bit about it, but every information that I received was false about Berea. So it wasn't really what I thought it was. And so I just remember applying. Next thing you know, it was boom, boom, boom. I was in working for TRIO, Student Support Services College Emerging Scholars Program at Berea College, and that's where I landed. And towards the end of my time at Berea, that's when I ran into Sharonda. But we also have another mutual friend, T. Ebony, and so we was on the same prayer calls together. And so here we are at Berea. And as soon as I was heading
We
out,
were on prayer calls before we ever met each other in person. Like we only knew each other just by voices on the prayer call because that was on phone. And
Yep.
then we finally was able to see the face, put the face behind the voice.
Oh, yep.
Yes.
So you have any like, I got my friend, Sharon on the break. I'm like, no.
She said the same thing to me.
I was like, oh yeah. So I was also doing graphics for T. Ebony's prayer call. So I did know your face because I did whenever you was you talked. And so I created the flyer. So I was like, oh, I know Sharonda's face. I know Sharonda's face. So yeah, all that led to being at Berea College, was there for 5 years. And now I am the director for the TRIO Student Support Services at the University of Louisville. I am only 30 years old.
Wow,
So
look, go on, girl. Go
I'm
on,
only
do
30
your
I
years
know,
old.
I know.
And so I guess sometimes I don't kind of pause and look at my life and say, oh, wow, like you've done all these things, right? Only being 30, just because I just know like it's nothing but the Lord, because
Yes.
a lot of these blessings is not even me. Honestly, none of them is me, but like if people were really to like dissect how I got from one place to another, it's just crazy because it's like it's not me, it was all the Lord, and just the stretching and the lessons learned all the way to get here. He's still stretching me and just pruning me of like different things. But is this a segment where I should go ahead and kind of knock on Fear the Unknown?
You can.
Okay.
You want to add something, Larissa?
Yes, well, I'd like to add something because with the student support service, can you explain to me what exactly that you do? Because I'm glad you said that, because I have two sons. My younger son right now is currently a student. He's a freshman at the University of Louisville. He's taking up graphic design.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to connect you. He needs some guidance to be able to stay focused.
Yes.
Really, that's very
Oh, yeah,
important
he's
to
in
me.
Louisville.
Yeah, he's at Louisville.
He's right there with Ashaya.
Right there.
That's why I'm like, okay, look, I gotta ask a question. Can we hold just for a second? Because I really want him to connect with the right people while he's there, to help him to stay focused, and because there are areas where, he starts out great and then he gets a little distracted. So I'm so glad that you said, and I was like, I made a note of that. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what you do with the student support services at the University of Louisville.
Yeah, so TRIO is actually a grant funded, it's a grant funded programs, and it starts at, high school level all the way to college level. So I operate at the college level. We our whole entire goal and mission is to help students who are first generation, low income, and students with disabilities, to help them, support them to get their bachelor's degree, and also support them after college as well, trying to get them to the either career field or trying to help them push them to get their master's, just go beyond the bachelorette level. So all that to say is you have to qualify. To qualify, you have to be first gen, low income or disability. If your son does not qualify in those areas, I mean, I'm still a resource because I know a lot of different resources at U of L. I mean, he can still just come in and talk to me as a resource. He doesn't have to fully be in there just to talk to me if he ever just needs help. But we have a bunch of resources. Our students, they meet with us one-on-one. We help them personally, financially. We have scholarships in our program. We help them trying to just navigate college life and just giving those resources and tools. We also take them on adventures, do cultural trips, trying to get them exposed to different things. And then just try to get them, like I said earlier, get them exposed to also like graduate school visits, giving them resources like that. So anything that we can do to help our students, we do it. Long story short. So giving them up and succeed. So.
Well, I'm going to be reaching out to you, not only for him, but I have a niece where my sister's a widow. She's a widower. She lost her, so my niece, so smart, very, very smart. They live in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And so she is, she's an only child. And so she took college courses in high school. And so she will be graduating this May from Ivy Tech. So she didn't have to go the 2 years. She's only been there 2 semesters. This will be the second semester and then she'll be done. So she's only had really 1 year. You would classify that as 1 year because she had enough credits going in from high school. So now she's looking into possibly coming to U of L, Purdue, and I can't think of the other. So I'm like, okay, you need to get on that. You need to start applying on the Porter Scholarship. You need to, because I mean, so smart, so smart. She takes her education very seriously, her study time and everything. So I'm definitely going to, I definitely want to connect you and her together because I'm so excited. In 1 year, she only had to go. I mean, she already had everything lined out. So I really feel like she needs to be at, U of L because she's just so smart, so smart. She's a planner.
I have to say, I'm a trio brat. Much like they have Army brats, I'm a trio brat. I was an Upward Bound student growing up in high school, and that was actually the first time I ever knew that I could go to college. And later I worked for Upward Bound, I worked for Educational Talent Search. I serve on the board for TRIO programs. And when I tell you, I am always a TRIO advocate. And the difference that TRIO programs, there's 8 total TRIO programs, but the difference that TRIO make in the lives of the students and that they work with, you cannot put a amount on that. And I've been in Washington, D.C. many times on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
Singing those praises because the funding is grant funded. And every 4 to 5 years, you have to write a grant to receive funding again. And there's a big chance that you may not. And for those programs that don't receive funding, those students lose out on that service. So, I've been in Washington a number of times talking to Congress and Senate to keep funding for TRIO. And there's a whole lot of people that back TRIO programs. And when I tell you they are fighting to make sure that students who are most promising, who just don't have the resources, can get access to be able to obtain college degree. Because of TRIO, I received my, of course, my bachelor's, but now I have my doctorate degree. And it literally started with an Upward Bound director telling me I can go to college. That's where it started. And now I have my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate degree. So, I definitely sing TRIO praises every place that I go because it's important to me. And I was excited when I learned that Ashaya would be going to work there in Louisville, which is where Larissa is from.
Awesome.
So y'all have
all
that
my
connection
family
here too. Yeah, y'all have that connection for sure.
Okay.
All my family is there. It's just, it was me and both of my sons and their dad here, but everybody else is in Louisville and Shelbyville and Louisville, the area. Yeah. So,
no, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, with with the different areas that you have, like from the student support services, from your passion for the student support, with, I'm trying to get my question together here. So, okay, with where you are now and everything that you do, and what other areas in your life, what have you added to your life since, going through your areas of changing from social work to accounting, now back to, because when you're working with students, it's still like social work, because you're still heavily involved in where they are, where they're growing, and in those areas. What have you added to your plate, on top of what you're currently doing at the University of Louisville?
That is a good question. And I would like to say that I am, like, when I say God is so strategic, because I literally use social work every single day with these students. Like, I'm so thankful that I went that route because of what information that I learned in my studies of just how to navigate, just social work just give you a different lens in general of seeing how the environment affects people in general. So really understanding, like giving grace and understanding grace, like, well, they may be this way because of their environment, formed them to act this certain way, type of thing, and how to navigate conversations. And I'm just so grateful for having that background of social work, because it has helped me a lot in my role, and not even just in my role, in my everyday life, for sure. So to answer your question though, what do I do outside of that? A lot. So right now, I attend Heavenly Outpour Church in Frankfort, Kentucky, with Apostle Gil Finley and First Lady Bridget Finley, and I am over our media team. So I do media on the side, and it's kind of part of building of my side business as well. So I'm over the media team with that. I'm also have a business that I started. It's called God Academy. And with God Academy at this point is still picking up off the ground, but I have planted some conferences, some workshop sessions in my hometown, trying to get people to pretty much go back to the basics of the foundations of God and giving them the tools. It was kind of before actually 2019, God kind of gave me God Academy, and then 2020 hit, and then you kind of saw like people's faith just being shaken a little bit with COVID. And so it was really just on my heart, like how much religion has affected us in regards of not really giving us the necessary tools of learning how to be in relationship with God, and how, like, the word of God really is a love book of Christ loving us, but also is giving us everyday tools how to fight everyday troubles, and how we just really like locking in faith, like knowing that God really does provide. But how many times do we worry so much? And so it's like really going back to the basics of teaching us how to really live with God and having that relationship. So I planted that, and then it literally last year I just turned God Academy into a business, because the Lord has definitely downloaded more things that he wants to do. And I just know, like, in the future, that I definitely want to start having books. I want to be an author. I want to be able to develop mentorship programs. And I know all that will funnel through God Academy, but continuing these workshop sessions as well, and conferences, merchandise, all these things. And also my media company will definitely be underneath God Academy. And so I do videography, a little bit of photography, but I'm more so heavy on videography and graphic designing. And so again, I was mentioned to Sharonda, I started off really being T. Ebony's graphic designer for her prayer call. And so just like little opportunities like that. The doors has been opening in that area. I will say it's growing. And so I'm able to be a part of other part of another ministry for their media team as well. And so God is really just growing me in that gift. And that's a gift that I never knew that was there. It was kind of buried, I guess. But these last few years, like the Lord has shown me, like, you're gifted with this. So I've just been taking it and running with it and learning everything that I can. Trying to think, I'm also just started a podcast as well with a friend. So that's another thing.
Awesome.
And just overall, just involved, trying to give back, just I'm everywhere. I feel like everywhere. But those are the main things that I will say that I work on constantly. Oh, last thing, I'm also a doctoral student as of
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
I keep forgetting. Thank you. I keep forgetting. Like, oh, I'm a student now. I'm back in the classroom. It's interesting. So, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like now when I introduce myself, I go, I'm Sharonda Steele. And someone say, no, you're Dr. Sharonda Steele.
No,
You
right.
almost kind of like, you don't think about it. And then
Yeah.
other people say, no, that's the way you need to introduce yourself. But to me, I'm just Sharonda. But you
Yeah.
go through that process, then no, you need to say it.
Dr.
But
Steele.
congratulations on doing the program. That's exciting.
Thank you. So.
You just said a whole lot. You do know that, right?
Yeah.
You do. And I'm thinking about when we were talking about the idea of faith over fear, because you're going to so many different territories that most people wouldn't dare want to step. So when you think about the idea of stepping into the unknown and faith over fear, what does that mean to you? How would you describe how that is shown through your life for someone else to be able to understand it?
Yes. So the fear of the unknown. So back in was it 2011? I believe it was 2011. WKU took a group of students to a conference. It was the Southwestern Black Student Leadership Conference, in which I was able to take a few students 2 years at Berea because it really impacted my life. It was at Texas A&M University. And so I remember at that conference, this was, I think, my sophomore year. It was my sophomore year. The conference title was Fear of the Unknown.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Still have the booklet and everything, it's very my college stuff, but it was Fear of the Unknown. It was my first time going to a conference in college. And it was just, it just really changed my whole entire life. Like, it was just like, I don't know. I just can't even explain it, but Fear of the Unknown has stuck with me ever since then. And I feel like it stuck with me because it literally has been my life, and I never realized it until recently, buying this house, that this has always been my life of literally breaking cycles for my family, right? I don't have an example of what it looks like on the other side.
Right.
So it's like the Lord has literally been allowing me to break barriers over my family. And it's not that I'm not, like, there is fear. That's the point. Like, I am scared, right? I am scared, but with God, he's like, I got you.
Right.
And so stepping onto the other side of the unknown, because I just don't know what it looks like. Nobody's holding my hand, guiding me through a lot of these hoops and boundaries of life. And so the unknown is like you have to embrace it, because what could be over there? There's a breakthrough on the other side if you can just get over and cross it. And so fear of the unknown has literally been every step of my life, every single step. And I think the biggest one was absolutely this house, because it challenged my faith in God. And so I remember whenever I was looking for a apartment, I already knew what I wanted. I said, God, I just need kind of what I already got in Berea, but I just need a garage, because I can't do this anymore. I just want a garage. I want a 2-bedroom, 2-bath garage, because at Berea had a little townhome, got 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I said, I just add on the garage for it. Just add on the garage. I'm good. That's all I need. And then, you look at the prices here in Louisville, and, just to have a garage, you looking at $1,200, $1,300. I'm like, oh, what? I'm looking at, Trio's grant funded, so it ain't math where it needs to,
Right.
right? So I'm like, Lord, this is gonna be my income, and this is, I don't know how this is gonna work out, right? And so I literally was. By the way, my aunt has a home. I will say that she's a homeowner, but in regards of like the barriers of the how young I am or just being on my own and just things like that. And the type of home that I have is so much different from what they have, right? And so just breaking those barriers in general, but it's not necessarily, I've learned in the situation is not necessarily that I'm breaking barriers in having a home, but I'm breaking barriers in my family of really trusting God in certain situations that broke them. That's not going to break me, if that makes sense.
That's good.
And so, all that being said, so during the process of the home, I'll give you a long story short, try to. One of my friends, she has a house in Lexington, and my other friend was like, why don't you just ask Tashonda for her realtor? And I was like, well, she don't necessarily have to get a house. I'm like, I'm not getting a house. What are you talking about? She's like, well, just help you to find like areas, like if she just knows anybody or know any areas of just where to find, nice apartments and stuff like that. So, I said, okay. I give her a call and she's like, oh yeah. And she's like, well, I will tell you that it's better for you to buy than to rent. And I'm like, okay, that's cute. I just need to know what areas is nice, if there's any places that's around this price range. And she like, long story short, after the conversation on the phone, it ended up me looking for houses. And I said, okay. Okay. And she's like, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? I said, no, I don't. Only thing I had a good credit score. I had a little bit of decent amount of savings, not for a house, but it was, a decent amount. And that's it. That's what I had. And so I was like, okay. And then she gives me her financial person or whatever. And so then I'm on the phone with him next. And then long story short, like the next day, she's literally sending me houses. And then the next day, she's like, it was a Friday. I remember it was a Friday. She said she had to do some stuff. So she was like, Saturday, we can go look at the top 3 houses that you want to fix, that you want to find. And the house that I ended up having right now is a house that I ended up seeing. I kept seeing it, kept popping up on different websites. It wasn't the website that she gave me. And I was like,
wow.
I just want to like, can I add this in there? I don't know how this process goes, but can I just add this in here? Because, I keep seeing this. And so she was like, oh yeah, we can do that. And so long story short, my house and the 2 other houses, like this is the same week. That Saturday, I literally was out here looking at the houses in Louisville, came to Louisville. The first house wasn't in, but my tire ended up getting stuck like off of a curb. And like we're like hopping into my realtor's car because we have to go to the next house, which is the house that I'm in now. So the second house is the house I'm in now. I'm like, what in the world? And then about time, like I called Geico, about time I got done looking at this house, love the house, right? By the time I got done with this, I was able to get my car out. He got it unstuck, and then we went to the third house. It was just like a lot happening. I was just like, Lord, what in the world is going on? And then I'm over here nervous. I was just like, this is going too fast. Like, this is not what's supposed to happen. So we go to the third house. Kind of liked it, but the second house I was sold. The house that was trying to, hold me back from looking at it was sold. I was like, I like this house, and so it was everything that I wanted. And then the next day I bid it on another house because it had an extra bedroom for like $1,000 less. And I was like, okay, I'm just shoot for it, but I don't really want it. And long story short, within the same day, I got outbidded. I was like, it's fine, great. And then she's like, let me call the second house. And then second house, and it's like, no, nobody bid it on it yet. And I was like, oh, bet. So we bid it on it literally the Monday. Like the next day, I get the house. And I'm like, oh, wait. What happened? Like
Homeowner now.
like this. And I was like, what just happened? And then I'm just like stuck, like legit stuck, because I'm just like, what did I just do? But that was the fast part. But the part that got me is that the Lord literally had me wait a whole month. I was supposed to close. This is December of last year of 2021 actually. And the Lord I was supposed to be moved out before December 31st. Long story short, I was supposed to be closing early in December, but like the way the holidays was happening, people were in, people were out, the paperwork, it was just taking a long time. And the last day of December 31st, well, the day before, because I was already trying to get into the house early, but the guy wasn't moving. He was like, no. And so I was like, okay. And so December 31st, long story short, December 31st, the day before December 31st, my realtor and they're like, the paperwork is still not in, but we're gonna try to ask the person who owns it if he will really give it over to you for early possession so that you can move, because I need to get out of Bria at this point. Like, my lease is up. So long story short, he ended up saying yes. And the only reason why he said yes is because he worked with the financial people before, and they convinced him like, I'm trustworthy and all this other stuff. She's been doing everything on time. He's like, okay. And he's like, when I talked to him, he's like, I mean, I just felt bad because you had to get out. So he's like, I'll do it. So I couldn't move in on December 31st until 4 p.m. So
Wow.
we are literally like, everybody came down, moved me out from Berea to dropping off keys and doing everything. And let me listen, my house didn't have a refrigerator, so my friend gave me her refrigerator. So we picking up everything along the way up to Louisville. Long story short, I'm in this house, and then I still had to wait. I had to wait about 4 more days. 4 more days. I closed on January 6th of last year, 2022. Still had to wait. So I'm sitting here in this house like, I'm not touching nothing. I'm not unpacking nothing until I
Yeah.
come to the house, because like, what in the world? But all that to say is I had a fit with the Lord. I really had a fit with the Lord, because I was like, listen, Lord, I literally told you well, you already know, but I literally told you what it is. And the root of it is that I've came into poverty. I've lived in poverty all my life, right? But sometimes, when we're trying to make it out, we try to make it out by ourselves, and we're trying to make it out on our own. And the Lord had to reveal that money has always been a root of my heart. And not even just that, but it has been a thing where I'm working for this. I need to get this degree. I need to do this. I need to do that. And he's really like the whole 2022 to 2022, all the way even up to now, like he's literally had to strip me, not necessarily strip me fully, because like he's been providing, but strip me from literally depending on myself, thinking that it's all me, or it's on his time. And first of all, and then it's not even that, like this is his blessing, right? This is his blessing that he wants to give to me. But not only that, I have to trust him even if it don't look right. And so things were just happening. Like, I mean, the whole situation of moving, my last real landlord, they switched companies. As soon as I left, they switched companies. The company was trying to say that, hey, you left this uncleaned or whatever, and they like held out like $200-$300 from my deposit. It was a mess, and I was like, what is going on? I was like, 2022 was just crazy of just things happening. But all that to say is that the Lord really had to stretch me in a sense that this is not like mine, this is his. And if he's going to give it to me, he's going to provide no matter what the situation may look like.
Yes.
Everything that I wanted is here, right? But the unknown was like, God, you told me this, you told me that, or this is why I didn't want to get a house anyways. Like, I'm going in with them like frustrated, mad, like I shouldn't have had this. And everybody can praise you, but they don't know what's happening behind closed doors, right? And
That's
so
right.
like, do you even know the stress of just having this home or stuff like that? So all that to say is the Lord's really just been showing me these things. And I just feel like the house so far has topped off the fear of the unknown, because I literally step into a territory that my mama can't help me. You know what I'm saying? Like, she can't really give me full advice because she had never owned a home. She doesn't know those things, right? And so even unknown with the doctor degree, like me and God went back and forth about that last year. I said, oh, I'm not doing this. Like, what are you doing? Like I'm not, and he kept reminding me that I have to do it. So, and I already told him, like, if it was free, God, I'll do it. And here it is free. So, I gotta hold on to my word. But
Yeah.
all of these things has been crossing over into the unknown, scared. But it's taught me to not rely on myself, because if I rely on myself, then I become my own source. And I'm not my source.
Yes.
Mm.
I have to allow God to strip me from me and really rely on him and have that faith that we always talk about, and so what is really faith? Are you really having faith in God? Are you really having faith in yourself to provide, to make a way, to do these things? And God wants us to break these barriers, right? Like he wants us, but he doesn't want us to break the barriers trying to do it on our own.
Right.
And that's just where he just had to humble me in. It's been a ride. It really has been a ride. Because my generation, we all about going out there and getting it and doing all this other stuff on the grind and want to show off. And it's like, I want to do that too. But the Lord's like, shut that. Go ahead, sit down somewhere.
Yeah, no, you've hit on so many things that I'm sure those that are listening or watching will really benefit from. But if you could, take all of that and sum it into one thing that you want to make sure that you leave with all of those that are watching or listening in, one final word that you would like to share with them, what would that be?
That's good. So when it comes to the fear part, to know that God never gave you the spirit of fear, and that like it really is really putting your faith and your hope in God, and doing that is literally giving your fears, your cares, your worries literally over to him. Like give it to him. It's a gift. It's a gift unto him. When you give a gift, you do it. You don't give a gift and you want it back.
Right.
So when you give that to him, you don't take it back. You don't take it back from him. You don't carry it. You don't keep carrying it. You give it to him and he takes it and he says, thank you for giving this to me because I love you. And I don't think people understand that God really loves them. And so I know that the Lord loves you. He doesn't want you to carry those things. So give your cares and things like that to God as a gift to him. Let him take it. And you rest. Rest is so important. I'm learning that, and you rest in knowing that everything is going to work out for your good. But when you're uncomfortable, then you're growing. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we interviewed Miss Calvania Radford, there was something that she said and she touched on, and listening to you and sharing your story was that even as a young adult, we have to go through the process. There's a process that we have to go through and never give up. And as you're sharing your story about, faith over fear, sometimes in all of us, no matter what the age, we try to take a shortcut. And taking a shortcut is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if you go through, like you're saying, the things that you've gone through, they're making you a stronger person in so many areas of your life that when you take a shortcut, you've missed out, number one, on growing. Because you ain't learned nothing, because you've taken the shortcut, you've taken the fast route, being fast and furious. You've taken you've gone that route instead of going through the process of being pruned and pricked. Because being pruned and pricked allows growth. And you're able to take root in something through that process. So you've said some powerful stuff that our viewers and listeners are going to be able to sit back and think about different situations that they have gone through or may be in the middle of experiencing right now, that they'll be able to sit back and reevaluate the process by some of the things that you have shared. So
Or even
Thank
just think about making a decision, right? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be something bad. It could be, I have a decision I need to make. Which
Yeah.
route do I go? And you've shown
Mhm.
time and time that there were some decisions you had to make where you was like, okay, Lord, even with the battle, I don't know if I want to do this, but I want you to do this, being able to completely submit, right? To the will of God. So, and then the blessings that you receive from that, the
Mhm.
rewards are much great, of course, but there has
Oh,
to be some
yeah.
sacrifice too. So,
Mhm.
well,
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
so much for joining us today. This was really good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm stealing
Really
that from
good
you,
stuff.
Sharonda. Like you steal my Good Morning Gorgeous. I'm stealing that good stuff. Good
Oh,
stuff.
I always say good stuff. I'm like, good stuff. That was good. You know how when you really want to say something, but you don't have words? I just like, oh, that was so good. Like, that was so good. Good stuff. Good stuff. But thank you so much for coming on today to the podcast. I am just grateful that you took time out of your day with everything that you have going on. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with God Academy as that begins to grow.
Yes.
We would love to have you back and share what's happening and how people can get engaged and involved. So more to come. And we look forward to having you back on Good Morning Gorgeous podcast. So, and to all of those that are either watching or listening in, as we always like to say, as we sign off, always, what is it again?
Find yourself
Believe in yourself and love
and
yourself.
love yourself.
So good. So good. See how she had to have my back real quick? Thank you all so much for joining us. And we will see you next time on Good Morning Gorgeous. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.